Fears and hopes must have occupied Chukwuma's mind as he journeyed to Lagos. Fears of what might happen to him and his collaborators if the authorities in Lagos maintained the position that they were disloyal mutineers, and hopes that the agreements reached with Lagos would be kept. But judging from the mood I had observed in Lagos during my brief visit 2 days earlier and the ominous silence from the north, Chukwuma could not and did not expect a hero's welcome in Lagos. He was left in doubt for a short while when he arrived in the capital as to what could happen to him and his colleagues. He was taken to the University of Lagos Teaching Hospital at Idi Araba on arrival in Lagos, apparently for a complete medical checkup and possible operations to remove the shrapnel lodged in his neck. He did not stay for long in the hospital before he was incarcerated under some kind of house arrest. His first letter to me, written on 24th January 1966, 4 days after his arrival in Lagos, partly revealed his clear state of mind and restraint in communication at that stage. The tone of the letter did not indicate hopelessness or loss of faith. It was a period of high tension in Lagos when the new Supreme Commander could hardly pick his way through a welter of advice and information on what to do or what not to do with the disloyal mutineers or heroes of the revolution and liberators. The majority of thinking Nigerians were also divided in opinion depending on which side of the fence they were on.
Major CK Nzeogwu, NMTC PMB 20022, Kaduna, 24th January 66. Ezigo Obam, I have now left the hospital as the doctor thinks it is more dangerous to operate on me than to leave the shrapnels in their present position. I was taken out on the 20th and I'm still around here. Please look after my property and my car. At a later stage, I may want the car disposed of if I can get enough to pay off UDC and secure a little profit. You will now need to look after my parents, whose address is PO Box 5, Asaba. Please get in contact with Malam Idi, whose address is 15 Ibezim or Biajulu Street, Surulere. I have still not seen the Supreme Commander and I saw Nzeogwu only on the first night of my arrest. Please tell Tim Nzeogwu to collect all my books and tell him also that I have not found any of the books he asked for. If you are storing my car, please drain the water and oil and jack it up in a secure place until I give you final disposal instructions. Goodbye for now, and please send regards to all. My greetings to Remy, Salako and the rest. Your brother, Chukwu. P.S. Incidentally, how is Mr. Watson of the New Nigeria doing? He came to Lagos in the same plane with me and then lost track in the maze of Lagos and gun toting and over security. Please extend my regards to him. Also my regards to Lawson, whose idea was simply marvelous.
I had gone into the military hospital in Kaduna at the sign of an ulcer, and one night, soon after Chukwuma had departed for Lagos, 2 of the participants in the coup in Lagos, Majors Anoforo and Ademoyega, called at the hospital to inquire about Chukwuma. They were probably thinking of using Kaduna as a base in view of the success of the coup in Kaduna and rallying support from there to launch an attack on the south. That idea had of course earlier been considered, partly implemented by Chukwuma and only discarded when it was obvious it would not ensure the full success of the coup beyond what had been achieved and that it would be destructive of lives and property. On 4th February, Chukwuma wrote me a letter which he could not dispatch until 8th February because he was trying to avoid censorship. The letter not only revealed Chukwuma's ebullient state of mind, his idealism and naivety, but that his sense of humor was still intact. Chukwuma was by nature and upbringing incapable of planning, let alone executing a coup d'etat designed to deliberately suppress one tribe politically and elevate another. But the execution of their plans in the south were susceptible to such an interpretation. He was unhappy about it. He felt disappointed, almost betrayed. There was no intention on Chukwuma's part to collude or conspire with Igbo officers in the army and with Igbo politicians and academics to lead a coup for the purpose of ensuring the political leadership of Nigeria by Igbos. No doubt, Igbos and non-Igbos gave a sigh of relief when the coup took place. However, some sections of the Nigerian society saw the coup as a monumental and wholesale Igbo plot to establish Igbo political ascendancy, supremacy, and domination. Chukwuma disassociated himself from such a plan or act and maintained his sanity, dignity, patriotism, and nationalism and his faith in God even while in prison. His letter from Kirikiri prison dated 4th February 1965, obviously he meant 4th February 1966, revealed this much.
Federal Prison, Kirikiri, 4th February 65. My dear Oba, I can probably smuggle out this letter to you in spite of the strict security which forbids us to let anyone know our whereabouts. You probably know already. The story is that when I got to Lagos on the night of the 19th of January, I was taken to the Lagos Teaching Hospital. Almost 24 hours later, Igboba and Mohammed Mutala were sent to come with a guard of 2 private soldiers armed with Tommy guns and borne in an open Land Rover to arrest me. There are 25 officers here and about 130 other ranks. The officers are as follows: Colonel Banjo, Don Okafo, Aganya, Nwobosi, Adeleke, Udeaja, Ezedigo, Tijani Katsina, Igbioko, Nweke, Ejikiofo, Wokocha, Okaka, Elegbede, Onyefuru, Onguluku, Anyafulu, Igweze, Okocha, and me, of course. Banjo and Aganya were arrested for the same offense. The former was arrested for giving the weapons to Banjo. Ifejuna and my colleagues in the south made such a nonsense of this affair, which results that people are accusing us of being one-sided. The so-called loyalist troops, under the influence of the Supreme Commander, urged on by certain tribalists, encouraged private soldiers and NTOs to cane and maltreat some of the officers and the men now in Kirikiri whilst they were under detention in the Federal Guard in 2nd Battalion. They were beaten with kobokos daily, starved, and forced to drink urine at gunpoint. Nwobosine Lee had his eyes poked out with a rifle muzzle, and Oyewole, who is still admitted in the military hospital, had his forehead and nose smashed to bits with a rifle in the presence of a Kanem, Captain Iwe, Major Ali, and a few other loyalist officers. If you see the men here in prison, you'll be sorry for them. Koboko and bayonet wounds all over the face and body. It is terrible. In fairness to them, the loyalists, they were probably acting so in order to please some faction of the army that felt the human loss, but that is not how to soldier. We get VIP treatment in the prison, and all warders and prisoners respect me as head of the revolutionary group. We are not allowed to write letters stating that we are here, nor are we allowed to give details of this place. One corporal was shot dead and one Sergeant Nathaniel badly wounded by tribalist troops of the Federal Guard. The character of the revolution in the north was entirely different because of the organization, which included every shade of person. In the south, the northern officers and troops feel that the coup is aimed against the north. Everyone seems quite jittery at this end, and they will fire at anything that moves. The army is completely untrained and will need a lot of cleaning out and retraining. We do not know how long we're expected to be here, but PS officers of the Lagos garrison imprisoned here have lost all their personal property through looting by loyalists. Their cars are all smashed up. I do not see us leaving very soon. I have never had the privilege to see the Supreme Commander even once, and so I take it that the fellow in Lagos have played a nasty trick, but I'm not so shaken by it. In fact, I do not mind if they say that I am to be hanged. Somehow, I'm a little convinced that it may be in my own interest in the way they tell me. At the same time, if I remained in the north, it is most likely that any maniac will attempt to harm me, although the possibility is not completely out. Only last week, I managed to get a message to the Supreme Commander through the Director of Prisons, Mr. Giwa Osagi. It was about a foreign position to Kashmir, UK, US, or Germany. No was the answer. You may be able to advise me about another step. I am seriously considering leaving the army if they will let me go. It may mean going to live abroad, at least for some years. I have a certain amount of satisfaction in the fact that we succeeded in the least overthrowing the rotten regime which we set out as our goal. That we lost control to the clique of loyalist senior officers is probably the will of Allah. I want you to collect all my letters from the NMTC and to forward same to me here. They may censor them all, but I don't really mind much. Please try and collect all my belongings floating around Kaduna, especially my books. Officer Cadet Ibrahim Salisu, NDA, The Rise and Fall of the Mongolian Empire. Captain KGL Lawson, Kama Sutra, A People's War by Nguyen Gyap. Nzeogwu or Waziri, UK Battle Group, Precise. I can't remember all the rest. You will hear more as soon as I can remember. I have told my dad to get in touch with you as soon as he gets his gratuity so that you people can jointly sort out that my house problem. I want to live in that house as a civilian ex-graduate of Kirikiri University. As I say, we get good food and generally respectable treatment, but the fact is that we are in prison where warders of all classes talk to us in a way that they should not normally do. In fact, a townsman of mine who works here has called me boy on 2 occasions. I can't remember what time I last answered that very honorable title. Please extend my regards to Remy and Salako. I'm so sorry that it is not possible to write too many people. They won't let me have paper and envelopes even if I want to buy with my own money. Even if the government is not exactly what we would have established, I'm glad that it is an improvement on the old corrupt regime. I've not got much more to add but to wish you the best of luck. The NMTC has yet to issue me 8 yards of caro cloth and a sword. In addition, I still have to collect some bits of paper that may belong to me in my last office. I hope you are well and kicking fine. How is your car, incidentally? Are you going to get a new one? What has become of the Makera House transaction? I hope it all goes well. My sincere regards to Sayon Olu, Alahaji and his wife, Egbon and wife as well. Thanks so much for the help you gave me during the crisis, especially the feeding arrangements. Bye for now and let me hear from you soon. Keep this letter because I am sure it will be useful as a historical record. Chukwu. Please give the relevant portions of this letter to my dad and any person who may be interested so that there's no such thing as the info getting lost. I know that many people say that we are dead. The truth is that the clique of loyalist senior officers are afraid of us and will be happier if we are not around. One point about my job in Kaduna, please remind those brigade headquarters people to let me have my pay for higher rank for the latter period when I was at the NMTC, including September, October, November, and December. I left Kaduna on the 19th as a local brigadier. I am now a fresher in Kirikiri. Bye for now, Oba. Ademoyega and Onwategu joined us on Saturday the 5th. I'm terribly sorry that even on the 8th of February, I have not had a reliable visitor who can carry this letter out with the censor's razor blade. PPS Oyewale has joined us this afternoon, bringing the officer's strength to 21.
I was in hospital for a week, and when I was discharged, I went back to the house Chukuma and I shared at 13 Kanta Road, formerly Lugard Road, Kaduna, and lived there for a while. I was overwhelmed by 3 types of visitors, all of them uninvited. The first lot were our mutual friends and acquaintances who came to commiserate with me and ask about Chukuma's faith, and to congratulate me for getting out of the hospital after my stomach ulcer had healed. Usually, Chukuma and I had an open door policy and we enjoyed the company of our friends and loved ones. We always stocked our house with tinned food, snacks, and assorted drinks mainly for the benefit of our visitors, and we never ceased having visitors. Chukuma was particularly more at ease than I was in the company of visitors of all types and at all times. Chukuma did not play any outdoor games but jogged for exercise. But reading, playing indoor games, and listening to music, especially classical music, were his hobbies. Chukuma's taste in music was in the instrumental. He enjoyed jazz and symphonies, but his greatest love was military music. He could not stand pop records because he did not regard them as artistic. He regarded them as noise. Entertaining visitors and talking to them was also for him an additional hobby. As a result, we built up a host of acquaintances and mutual friends. The second group of visitors were the curious who came to see where Chukuma, the strong man, used to live. They never came in but hovered menacingly around the house. The third group were security men who, in disguise, kept surveillance on the house to watch the goings-ons in and around the house. It became unbearable for me and I had to move to the new barracks in the cantonment, which was more secluded and less accessible to inquiring visitors. It was also closer to my unit, which was based in the cantonment at that time. Although Chukuma referred to my undergoing quite a bit of harassment from the police in his letter of 18 February 1966, I really was not harassed by the police and security men. A coup d'etat undermines trust and confidence within the armed forces, if not in the entire nation. And everybody is a suspect until the contrary is proven, especially those who are known to have been associated with the coup planners and executors. I believe that what happened in my case was normal investigation and interrogation to ascertain my involvement or non-involvement in the coup. After the interrogation, I never saw the police again and I was never disturbed in my work. But Chukuma was understandably concerned because of his own decision to keep me out of the coup in spite of our otherwise close association. I appreciated his concern.
18th February 1966. Ezigo Oba, I hope you received my long letter written or rather posted about 1 week ago. It contained a lot of details about the way you loyalist troops were dealing with we rebels. Can you imagine Keshi conniving with the police in the north to manhandle and handcuff my other officers? I am told that you have been undergoing quite a bit of harassment from the police. I told them when they were questioning me in Lagos to leave my dear brother alone. If you have not drained the oil and water in my car, please do so now and jack it up. I'm expecting to be detained for a few more months in order to appease the gods. My spirits are high in the skies and I do not entertain any fear. With the arrival in Lagos of 7 other officers from the north and the capture of Ifejuna, there must be about 31 officers and about 120 other ranks in detention. That is, of course, presuming that no more witch hunting is being done within the Army or Air Force. I'm a little restricted about whom I can write, and so please extend my regards to Lawson, whom I cannot write now. Also thank Dr. Remy and Lieutenant Mrs. Modi for looking after me so well in those hectic days following the revolution. My wounds are now fully recovered, but the scars still itch like mad because of the shrapnel inside. I thank God whatever happens. Daniel should have packed up all my belongings, but please check. I know that the police have been ransacking them. We, the more senior officers under detention, are being spread out all over the country for security reasons, but I'm hoping that the powers that be release all the junior chaps soon. They did not really know what was happening. Please extend my regards to Remy and everyone else, especially those at the NMTC. I hear that you now live at the cantonment. It is probably a better place from the point of view of unwanted visitors. Goodbye for now and so long. Your brother, Chuku. P.S. If you're not able to work out my present location from the clues on the letter and the envelope, you may write me through the following address. Care of Captain B.M. Usman, Army Headquarters, Lagos.
It was another indication of Chukwuma's belief in justice, fair play, and in putting responsibility where it squarely belongs. His letter revealed his concern and sense of consideration for me. He was also determined not to let the situation affect his high spirits. My first letter to Chukwuma after he left Kaduna was written on 25th February 1966. I acknowledged all his letters and gave him a progress report on the various actions he wanted me to take on his behalf. Unfortunately, the letter was returned to me after 2 months undelivered. I could not understand why it was not delivered, except perhaps as a means of cutting him off from outside communication. This must have been agonizing for him. Chukwuma, however, refused to be downcast or depressed. Apart from occasional insults received from other staff of the prison, he was generally well treated because they respected him. He abhorred the ill treatment of any participant in the coup by any members of the government law enforcement agencies. Whichever prison he was in, he was the soul and spirit of the place, and he organized exercises and games for his colleagues in prison. He lifted their spirits and made them keep their sanity and sensibility through his example and inspiration. He indicated his intention in one of his letters to write an authentic account of what he called the revolution. Even in prison, Chukwuma appeared fairly informed about the going-ons in the nation and indeed in the world, apparently through his occasional official visitors, prison staff, and newspapers and magazines. I believe he wrote with sufficient circumspection to make his letters pass the scrutiny of the censor's eyes without deletion or cutting off important portions. P.O. Box 233, Kaduna, 25th February 1966. Dear Chukwu, I got all your letters. It is rather heartening to know that you are well and you're in high spirits. I have rather found it difficult to explain your condition to Susie, Dad, and Malam Idi, all of whom I constantly write or see. I will advise you make efforts to write Dad if you can. I sent Mama home to join Dad when I was in hospital last month. She went home with some money, and I have told Dad to let me know when the money is about to finish. Dad is also worried about Philo and Peter for their school fees. Did you make any arrangements? I have told Malam Idi not to put up any signboard on your plot in Surulere. As for the books you asked me to collect, I have started to collect them. Your belongings have been nicely packed up and labeled and stocked in NMTC Q quarters. Your car has been drained and jacked up in 1 Brigade TPT company. The key is with Captain Okpo. The cantonment where I stay is nearer my place of work and completely out of way for visitors. You know how they used to troop in. Remy is well, but as usual, she finds it difficult to write regularly. Please endeavor to write to Dad. I could feel some strain in his last letter to me. A letter from you will reassure him a hell of a lot. Sincere regards from your brother, Oba. Nzeogwu, Oba, how are you again? I hope that my letter to you written from my new location has reached you. I'm writing so quickly again because I forgot to ask you to dispatch my car insurance certificate to Mr. B.C. Madiebu, my broker. The certificate is in the pocket on the left end of the dashboard. Tell Mr. Madibu that I stopped using my car since the 19th of January, but I want the comprehensive lifted and fire and theft substituted until I secure my release. One important point about assorted photo and other material that I want you to collect from our several ministries of info and from the new Nigeria are as follows. 1. Photos of VIPs in old and new governments. 2. Photos of me taken during operations. 3. Any other interesting objects for a record to be compiled on this national scuffle. 4. Painting of Usman Dan Fodio if in existence. 5. Statistics of voluntary agency schools, colleges, etc. as compared with government institutions in country before October 1st, 1960. Finally, let me thank you for all you have done already and hope that you do not get unnecessarily harassed by certain awkward persons. I have no doubt that they take great interest in my letters to you, but I sympathize with them at their disappointment. I wished we had something to hide from them. Your letters have got to come through Usman's address, except you do not want them to do. How is Remy faring in her studies? Do you intend keeping her at the Polytechnic for longer? You certainly have bags of guts and I commend you. I have told Malam Idi to stand by to work for you and it will be free of charge when the Animation Estate plots gets underway. We never had enough time to discuss the Makera affair, but I trust you have succeeded and getting yourself recognized as the rightful owner. Alahaji and Alahaja certainly did their best. They are an absolutely wonderful pair. Please extend my regards to both of them. When I am sure of my bank balances, I intend to send you roughly £40 so that you can clear my bills as follows. mess, petrol, UTC motors, Kingsway, and of course, the £20 you drew for me when I was virtually imprisoned in the headquarters 1 Brigade. Old boy, I have to be a bit more cautious about money in view of the half pay action which is to be imposed on we rebels soon. It is probably very good training for what lies ahead when I become Mr. CK Nzeogwu. Right now, I am beginning to feel like a civilian. No steel helmets and weapons being cocked and thrown about. It is really a dream, and I look forward to seeing the boys marching past as I stand beside watching them do those things that we did and have finally left. Bye for now, your brother Chukuma. I was later made to understand by Brigadier Ogundikwe, who became Nigeria High Commission in London, that not all Chukuma's letters to me or his parents were delivered, and not all our own letters to him were delivered either. The route of letters from Chukuma was through prison officials to prison headquarters, supreme headquarters, army headquarters, to me, his parents, or any other person he wrote to. He received letters through the same route. But any official along the route could recommend that a particular letter was not to be delivered for reasons of security. A few days after my undelivered letter to Chukuma was returned, I got one letter from him dated 25th February 1966 and another 26th. By March 1966, Chukuma had seen the inside of 3 prisons. His frequent movement was also due to security reasons. His letter of 15th March 1966 showed a record of his movements, the state of his health and mind. I did not receive letters from him for a considerable length of time, apparently because the censors were at work. But in early May 1966, Chukuma wrote again. The disturbances in the country in May 1966 must have dried his pen or blocked the route of his letters. However, on 20th June 1966, he wrote to a senior officer of security to complain about distortions, misrepresentations, and outright lies in a publication in some sections of the Nigerian press. He wrote meticulously and pungently, pointing out the flaws, asking for correction, and accusing that section of the press of irresponsibility. He also bared his mind on the chaos that seemed to be gradually destroying the basis of the Nigerian nation. The last letter I received from him in 1966 was dated 20th July and addressed to my wife to welcome her back from her studies in the United Kingdom. He was as usual humorous, outspoken, and clear-minded.
Ezigbo Obam, I was again moved out from my last post to a new place only on the morning of the 12th, but you can be rest assured that I am well. By the end of my detention, I should have seen the inside of every conceivable prison in Nigeria. If you are taking notes, the relevant dates are as follows: 20th January to 14th February, 1st station; 15th February to 12th March, 2nd station; 12th March, 3rd station. I read a lot and break the monotony up with PT and rest. In spite of the bore, I am fit and very much alive, and except for the loss of freedom, it is not too bad. Ref my car, I have no doubts that you have emptied the oil, battery, and radiator. I hope to hang on to the old jalopy if I am unfortunate to remain in the army. Otherwise, I intend to flog it away. You bet I need the cash from it very much for starting off business. I have told my old man to keep in contact with you so that you can help him spend his gratuity. All my letters still have to come through Army headquarters for their info as well. We are often disturbed to hear about the meetings and indiscipline among the troops and elsewhere. We would have thought that the disbandment of a few units would help to solve the tomfoolery. Typical Nigerian inactivity. Have you bought a new car yet? You do not really need it if that Thanos still moves. Try to start work at your Animation estate plot so that Remy will have a few more places to look after. As soon as I am discharged from the army, I may be able to include a hotel at Benin to the list of jobs for her. I have my eyes on that historical city. Incidentally, I still have $8 credit against your name at the building materials section of the Ventus. You may use it as a lever to get urgent credits when you start work. I've instructed my bank to transfer £40 to your bank directly so that you can clear all those debts. My assumption is that you are still banking with Akinde at Bank Road. Before I forget, my account number at the Kingsway is N93. Bye for now, Oba, and please write soon. Your brother, Chuku. 2nd May 1966. My dear colleague, how are you faring at India Echo? I hope that you are very well now. Except for an occasional tummy rumble, I am fit and still below the heavyweight class. If you are more informed about the armed services than I am, you would probably know the details of the promotions, demotions, and all the other shuns that have taken place since we left Kirikiri. No one in their loyalist camp seems to be able to write or hear from us. I have written to quite a few members of the Kirikiri Old Boys Association, but as no one replies, I guess the loyalists must be taking ages to do their censoring or they are withholding our mail. I have written the Brahmins requesting them to restrain their zealots, and so I'm hoping that this note will reach you. The recent article in the Daily Times on 100 Days of the Military Regime by Peter Pan is thrilling and gives us a lot to think about. I am hoping that the action addresses will Roger and act bags of luck to them. What I've been evaluating recently is the Dakar Arts Festival. The Opal Senor will go down in history as a luminary of modern African and American Negro arts. The consolidated list of awards indicates that our artists are not quite as clever or outstanding as our press and radio try to tell the Nigerian public. We took some products to exhibit there as though it was all a trade fair, and I am happy that Sengo washed us down. He made it quite clear that we did not live up to our place as Star Country. Typical, isn't it? We probably sent our worst artists on compromise basis. I believe in these precision, prestige organizations to manage sports, arts, and allied exhibition abroad. I am more inclined to agree with your idea, rework agriculture, and trying to settle down. Some of us will never make a good civilian, but it is a lot easier for you qualified people. I am damned if there's one thing I know how to do well. Of course, I can always present my Kirikiri certificates when asked for credentials. There are not many organizations that I like to work for. You bet, I want to have my cake and eat it, and that will happen all right. Let me hope to hear from you if you will still have the energy to write. Sometimes it is the most difficult thing to do after one has got into the habit of using a stenographer. Bye for now, and please be fit soon. Yours ever, Chukuma. 10th May 1966. Nzeogwu Oba, thanks for your letters of the 16th and 28th March which came to hand yesterday. I suppose they had been sitting in the pending tray of some Brahmin for whom we are nothing but low priority pairs. However, I am grateful for both. My bankers indicate that they've transferred £40 to you on the 6th of last month. I was hoping to have a credit in your budget, but with the £15 paid to my mom, I should still send you something. My guess about your posting was obviously correct. In a fix, eh? I'm in the same way too with all the extended family ties. Sorry about all the worries that I dump on you, even with your new attack of ulcers. If you get any more problems with Fidelis, please send him back home to Asaba. I'm including the sum of £5 on your own, £13 for him because I guess he needs it. Please extend my regards to him. Well, Oba, I hope that you live a long time in spite of the ulcers because we can't afford to lose you. I've written my dad and relatives as often as possible, but only God knows what these Brahmins do with the letter. My dad gets a monthly allowance which is quite sufficient for them at Asaba. I hope to clear the school fees if he has not done so by the time I get out. It is needless to tell you how angry I am with my mom for hanging around Kaduna and being so ungrateful to you. She probably has not told Dad that she incurred that expense which she had no excuse to do. Oba, thanks a million. You would have thought that I'll be ready to do my decking when I leave here, but unfortunately I won't. Oba, what are you worried about? Why has your ulcer returned? Mine tickled me a bit, but it has been checked by some fine surgeon who looks after me here. He says that I may require an operation when I am over 40. Are you getting enough sleep? Please make sure that you do. Why did the TPT commander commandeer my car? All my documents, including my driver's license, etc., were all strapped together and tucked away in the usual safety pocket on the left of the dashboard. I suppose the police have collected them in order to look into them for the usual traces of communism or some other virus. Whatever the case, I hope that my car is receiving better treatment than the ones of my unfortunate friends whose cars were left in Lagos and environs. If I did not mention The Rise and Fall of the Mongolian Empire as one of the books to be collected from Officer Cadet Ibrahim Salihu of the NDA, please take notes. I'm sure that now I sound pretty incoherent and you are wondering what has gone wrong with my PSC method of putting one idea only in a paragraph. One can't help going round the bend in such a place. It is good to hear that Remy will come back this year. I pray the God Lord that she gets through that exam. Apart from bringing me a pinky, she will cook special meals for us. I'm sure that she will like the projected 404. It is a fine car, but I'm afraid that you may take off and fail to land. Well, I pray that it does not happen. I'm getting pretty responsible, you know. I write my dad quite frequently, and my last letter to him left here on the 19th of April, but your guess is as good as mine about when the letter will reach him. There's usually not very much to write dad about except when they do something funny at Asaba. Ref, the signboard at my rag edifice, I wanted it up on purpose, but I can't tell you why. It is quite correct if you gave instruction to the contrary. I'm glad that Makera affair has been solved once and for all. Have the lights come on both at your end and at Sanyo Olu's? Olu did a lot of work in your absence and I commend him. Please extend my regards to him, Alahaji and Alahaja as well. Rep the materials for the projected record or history. Please collect as much as you can. Whatever happens, I am never going to be seen about town or in public. I'm pretty cool after a time in the schooler. I have written Susie, but I'm not sure if she has received it. You can extend my regards to her in any case. Please send all my good wishes to Remy and tell her that I remember her in my very humble prayer. That certificate of hers, even if she will only be cooking for us with my pinky. Bye for now, your brother, Chuku.
Within 10 days of writing in July, the second coup took place and his colleagues who were detained elsewhere in the country, except those in the eastern region, were eliminated. From all indications, the change in government led to a temporary block of the route of letters to and from Chukwuma. The coup of July 1966 was followed by heightened hostility against Easterners, especially Igbos in the northern region in particular. Most Igbos left their movable and immovable property in other parts of Nigeria and fled to the eastern region. The bitterness and acrimony generated by the fate of the Igbos in the north was a factor in the agitation for the release of the January 1966 coup makers detained in the east. In July 1967, as the crisis was gradually rising in pitch to breaking point, Lieutenant Colonel Ojukwu released Nzeogwu along with the rest of his colleagues detained in the east. Chukwuma came out of prison detention feeling that there was still a place for him in the Nigerian army and was looking forward with his colleagues to redeployment in the eastern region until the crisis was settled. All others were deployed, but Chukwuma was not. His closest collaborator, Major Emmanuel Ifejuna, was appointed officer in charge of operations at the headquarters of what became 3 Command in Enugu after the Aburi talks in January 1967. Chukwuma was well regarded by the generality of the people of the eastern region and indeed by most people who understood his motive as born out of national interest. He enjoyed a very good reputation within the eastern region. He did not have much respect or regard for Lieutenant Colonel Odumego Ojukwu, the military governor, and as usual, he did not hide his views and feelings. Chukwuma was certainly more popular than Ojukwu, and he could not countenance the fact that Ojukwu obviously considered the idea of putting him back in prison.
20th June 1966. I suppose you got caught up in a lot of work after your last visit and could not make it again. Let me hope to see you soon, whatever happens. I thought it may be useful to call your attention to a lot of sensation mongering contained in the Daily Times leaflet titled First 100 Days. As you would appreciate, I am not there with you to defend myself, and so I expect you people to do so for me. On page 6 of the relevant leaflet under Wednesday, January 19th, The leaflet quotes me as saying inter alia, after the attack on the Premier's house on Saturday morning, I went to the home of Major Hassan. I had my gun in hand. Apart from being a load of lies, I could not have said such nonsense because I never went to the home of Major Hassan. Secondly, I never discussed any sequence of events with the Daily Times or any other newspaper, and it would have been inappropriate during the handover to see what I am quoted as having said. I appreciate that the Daily Times wishes to sell its leaflets, but it must try to be accurate and responsible so that feelings are not fanned up. On page 5 of the same leaflet, under Monday, January 17th, the irresponsible writer states that I announced my surrender, adding inter alia that Major Nzeogwu was offering his sword and command to the general, announcing the loyalty of the Supreme Council to the revolution. I'm sure that you were pretty well in the know about events at my headquarters and will understand that at no time did I mention the word surrender or sword and command. If anything at all, my mood during those hectic days was not one of surrender, if you remember. Other inaccuracies, borrowed no doubt from foreign papers, were remarks like me being a small arms instructor at the military academy. Please use your good office to bring these liars to book as soon as possible. If you have any doubt about the facts, RTK and NBC Kaduna or even the New Nigeria will give you tape recordings of my speeches. It is highly undesirable for me to raise any dust, and that is why I'm contacting you. You may recheck facts with Hassan. I will also write the Supreme Commander on the subject. About the riots in the north, I am wondering if E Branch has again beaten or whether I am full of praise for those who organized it if they absolutely beat you and the military government. What is significant is that several people took refuge in the homes of the other side, which goes to prove the point that whatever the big people do, the smaller people love one another. Believe it or not, Nigeria will survive the onslaught of sectionalism and self-interest. Long live our republic. You must come around soon so that we can natter a bit. Goodbye for now. Yours ever, Chukuma. 20th July 1966. Ezibu Remy. I guess that you are back now. Welcome to the dear old country. It is significant that I should be writing you today because it is exactly 6 months since my incarceration. One could not be a better form to welcome the pinky that you brought back for me. Well, what is she like? We do not quite have an estate for you yet, but we can only hope that there will be enough for you to do in the kitchen. Oh no, not me being cruel to my brother's wife again. I'm so sorry that it became impossible to maintain the link, but I trust that my brother kept you informed of general developments. It is not going to be long before we're able to relax and talk over the problem of that little room and about Adebayo man, my friend. Ha ha ha. You see, I still have not lost my sense of humor in spite of the regime's attempt to muzzle me. My mouth and pen are both still very sharp until the good Lord himself bluntens them. When you next write Salako and Adebayo, please extend my regards to them. If the former is still a bachelor after all the pressure that you no doubt brought to bear on him, he must be stronger than I am. It is doubtful if I could have lasted more than a few months. Please tell my brother not to hesitate to write if there is anything to write about. I am keen on knowing whether his next leave is due so that I can arrange for him to do some work for me in Lagos. Mr. Akinde, my civil engineer consultant, has been posted to the city council at Ibadan. I guess that he is aware of this. Yes. I should have congratulated you on successfully completing the course instead of waffling as I have done already. When I pass out of this university, you will be able to help me with my postgraduate work. I've almost decided that I need just 2 jobs in which I'll be both employer and employed. We shall discuss. My guess is that it is not easy for you trying to acclimatize under our 35 degrees temperature. Whatever you do, please look after yourselves. Bye for now. Yours ever, Chukuma.
Chukuma maintained that the coup of January 1966 was not meant to divide the country, but rather to strengthen it. He did not believe in secession, and he made bold to say openly that the bid would fail. Until the commencement of the Civil War, he was prevented from making contact with troops. He could do whatever else he liked, and that put Chukuma, who was normally active, restless and bubbling with ideas in a rather difficult position. To relieve his boredom, Chukwuma became more involved in the welfare of his family. He took great care to plan his father's retirement from the Electricity Corporation of Nigeria and advised him to retire to a place near enough to their village, Okpanam. The choice was between Benin and Asaba, and the family finally settled for Asaba. Chukwuma had provided the money for erecting a house in Asaba when his father retired in 1965. Mrs. Elizabeth Nzeogwu, however, remained in Kaduna to see Susanna delivered of her child. When the coup of January 1966 took place, Chukwuma asked me to make arrangements to get his mother to Okpanam. She moved out of 12 Nasarawa Street, the family's place of abode in Kaduna, soon after the coup, and for a while lived with her son-in-law, Corporal Thomas Uwache, at the military cantonment in Kaduna. She later joined the rest of the family at Okpanam, and the whole family moved first from Okpanam to Asaba, then from Asaba to Aba until the outbreak of the Civil War. Just before the Civil War started, Mrs. Nzeogwu left Aba to be with her daughter Josephine, whose husband, Matthias Ukpebelu, had died. She was with her daughter when the war started, and she remained separated from the rest of the family until the end of the war. When she heard rumors of war after the war had in fact started, she went to Chukwuma in Enugu to inquire if they were true. Chukwuma dismissed the inquiry lightly and told his mother not to worry, but to bear in mind that a soldier's concern in war was more for the projection of his beliefs and the achievements of his aims than for the safety of his mother. Those were his last words to his mother. He visited the rest of his family in Aba twice after the war had started and just before he was persuaded to join the war on the Biafran side. His letter of 17th June 1967, barely a fortnight before the war started, reached me a day or two after it began. He wrote of the military preparations around Enugu, the state of his relations with Ojukwu and hopes and dreams, even at the last stage of the crisis and in spite of the apparent inevitability of the impending clash of arms. Although Chukwuma's idea of a new Nigerian army inside Biafra was mentioned to the authorities, nothing was deemed possible at that material time to help him realize his loyalty to one Nigeria.
17th June 1967. Ezigbo Obam, congratulations on your well-deserved promotion and on the birth of your baby girl, although belated. I'm standing to attention and saluting as I write you this letter. Branka Dede Ogasa. There have been equally amazing promotions here, but I have not got all the details. Effiong, Njoku, Kuroba, and Imo are brigadiers. Ogunewe is a colonel. Ifejuna, Aniebo, Brown, and Sokej are second lieutenants. Onwatuegu, Adigo, Ohane, Orugbu, Aganya, Okon Udeja, Kevin Megwa, Okeke, Ekwedike, Ogbonna, Ude, Agbogu are either temporary or lieutenant majors. Things are really moving fast, and I only pray that it will move in the correct direction. You have no doubt heard a lot of rumors about my relations with Ojukwu. We obviously see things quite differently after what he did to my supporters in January 1966. He is also worried about my popularity among his own people. I was to be put back into prison, but he was afraid of repercussion. Right now, I am not allowed contact with troops, nor am I permitted to operate on the staff. One gentleman's agreement which we have is that I can carry on with whatever pleases me. You can't be in any doubt about the fact that if I have financial and logistic support, I will create a new Nigerian army inside Biafra with Igbo, Hausa, Yoruba, and all other ethnic groups. Let me know whether anyone in authority there in Lagos is ready to support me. If she is, I'd like contact to be established soonest. My best address is as above, and you should not hesitate to write. How are Remy and the baby? What is the baby's name? Regards to both, and so long, Chukwuma. P.S. Please let me know all those promoted. Thanks. My regards to Rotimi and all other staff officers at Army Headquarters who got promoted.
6 weeks after this last letter to me, Chukwuma died on the battlefield. I could not believe that he would fight on the Biafran side. At first, I thought he was killed in a bid to escape to the Nigerian side, but it was later made clear to me that when the war was going badly for Biafra on the Nsukka sector, Ojukwu did not need much pressure from civilians and military leaders before assigning Chukwuma the role of taking charge of the Nsukka sector, which was up till that point without a well-defined and proper command. Chukwuma was also persuaded to join in the war in the hope that serious destruction of lives and property could be averted and peace enthroned. He rallied support from civilians and soldiers and stabilized the sector. He personally led an ambush to consolidate the gains around Nsukka when he met his death on the night of 29th July 1967. On the Biafra side, not much effort went into searching for Chukwuma when he was discovered missing. When the body was found by the federal side on 31st July 1967, it was in a slight condition of decomposition, but it was easily recognizable as Chukwuma's. A friend of mine, Colonel Folusho Shotomi, ensured that he brought the photographs of the slightly decomposed body to convince me beyond doubt that it was in fact Chukwuma's body. The federal troops, in full appreciation of Chukwuma's well-known nationalistic feeling, recovered his body, took it to Kaduna, and buried him at the military cemetery there. For some time, news of his death was concealed from his family, especially his mother, by Biafran officials, who regularly brought presents of the family in his name. The family was told not to believe the Radio Kaduna reports of Chukwuma's death. No formal information of his death was made to any member of his family, and his mother only presumed him dead when he failed to turn up at the end of the war. If you've watched up until this point, then surely you enjoy our content. So go ahead and give us a like, subscribe, share, and drop a comment. This brings us to the end of the Finding Kaduna Nzeogwu series, and I hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to check out our playlists and watch everything from the beginning. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers.